Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Joseph Atick, Executive Chairman of ID for Africa, and I'd like to welcome you to our 19th LiveCast, which marks the kickoff of our highly awaited third season. Today's episode is very special for many reasons. First, we dedicate it to commemorate and celebrate International Identity Day through an exciting and must-see lineup of entertaining and informative segments. While International Identity Day is tomorrow, we chose to celebrate it in advance so as not to interfere with the national activities and engagements many of you are planning to attend tomorrow. Second, today we kick off a new series we call Eye on Africa. This LiveCast series is dedicated to giving the African identity authorities the opportunity to self-assess and share with the community their progress, focusing on policy, lessons learned, best practices, etc. The series is adapted to how you told us you wanted to receive knowledge and exchange information. Each episode will feature an in-depth report and analysis of progress made by 2 African countries towards their goal of identity for all, and will spotlight a Director General or an official designate from each country who will engage with me to extract best practices and lessons learned. These are the highest decision makers on identity in their country, with deep first-hand knowledge and experience. You will also have the opportunity to engage with them through our Community Voices feature. So this promises to be a very informative and interesting series. Please mark your calendar. Here's the upcoming schedule of countries participating so far. Today, we will do Nigeria and Rwanda. On September 29th, we'll do Kenya and South Africa. October 13th, we'll do Morocco and Lesotho. October 27th, we'll do Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire. We will continue this series and we will inform you of the schedule for the November in due time. In order to mix and match and keep today's episode entertaining, we broke it up into 4 segments. We will celebrate Identity Day in segments 2 and 4, where in segment 2, we will share some exciting details about a new campaign we are launching on International Identity Day. And in segment 4, we will provide a special roundup coverage of how African nations are commemorating Identity Day this year. You will see that the day, as it was originally intended, has become an important milestone observed through actions that make a difference in the Identity for All mission. You will also get to meet the artists and vote for the best design for the ID Day competition. But the core of this episode will be dedicated to the premiere of the Eye on Africa, which we launched with the Nigeria and Rwanda reports. Before we start today's episode, I'd like to thank our development partners, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, for their renewed support of our LiveCasts for season 3. Their presence with us has kept the identity community growing and informed and enabled it to have a voice that is heard around the globe as we continue to attract attendance from over 130 countries. As some of you recall, we launched the campaign to recognize September 16 as International Identity Day at our annual general meeting in Abuja, Nigeria in 2018. The motivation and symbolism were both clear and present from the start. Identity is a fundamental right and a practical necessity for the human experience. Few are the social constructs that play as a foundational role in our lives as personal identity. Yet, there are still lots of misconceptions about it, and the world still does not commemorate it. From the beginning, our appeal had a duality to it, to celebrate identity for those who have it, and as a reminder that there are still over 1 billion people, with over 500 million in Africa alone, who struggle to prove who they are. We believe having a commemorative day not only would help sensitize the world to the plight of those invisible billion, but will also spotlight the importance of safeguarding the identity of those who have it. Safeguarding through legal frameworks that defend human rights and liberties and protect personal data and privacy. Of course, the symbolism with the choice of the date, 16 September, is powerful. As many know, 16.9 is the UN Sustainable Development Goal that calls for the provision of legal identity for all by 2030, which is the stated mission of ID for Africa. This year, in commemoration of International Identity Day, we're launching a new multi-year, multi-pronged campaign, which we call Going Beyond the Core. Through it, we intend to reach outside the identity community to generate mainstream public awareness about legal identity and its role in society. We felt this was necessary since the identity development agenda has been inward focused so far. While together we have succeeded in building a vibrant community of stakeholders, it continues to be a community of specialists. Identity Day provides us with the perfect opportunity to reach out to the mainstream. So we're launching many activities under the umbrella of this campaign. We will be sharing with you more details over time, starting today. While the LiveCasts went dark over the summer, we were busy building the bridges beyond the core. The ID for Africa General Secretariat worked diligently with our network of ambassadors to recruit and mobilize influencers, activists, and well-known personalities in Africa to join us to advocate for identity for all and to encourage populations to be part of the identity revolution. These identity influencers now form what we call our ID Day emissaries, a program that will continue to grow and spread more widely into the mainstream. One output of this program is a series of short outreach videos produced by ID for Africa to promote identity for all. Take a look at one example that we will be using heavily across online media outlets in Africa starting tomorrow. Let us know what you think in the chat, please. Operator, please launch the video.
Have you ever wondered what it would mean to live without having access to government services?
Obtaining a job or even owning a bank account?
Being denied access to health care?
Ou un meilleur avenir pour votre enfant?
Like the right to education and even political participation.
This is a reality for over 500 million of our brothers and sisters in Africa
who remain invisible simply because
they don't own a legal identity.
Having an identity breaks down the walls of exclusion and prevent the invincible from participating in the modern society.
Elle nous donne accès à un avenir, mais aussi nous permet de jouir librement de notre vie.
It's time we take a stand
and demand legal identity for all.
And make September 16, which has been called International Identity Day,
a reminder to all world government that our identity matters.
I am Ms. Buba Aisatu.
My name is Evelyn Angomi Donde.
I am Eugene Gali.
Je suis André Franck Aliyu. I am Ali Sajita.
Je m'appelle Mira Ziloaeva Igene.
I am Dinaf, and I stand with September 16 as International Identity Day. Join me. Join us.
I hope you enjoyed this video. We'll be making several others like it in the days to come. We'll make this video available to you for use on our YouTube channel. So please feel free to use it and promote it on your Twitter accounts and all other social media. The link will be put right now in the chat. I want to thank now and recognize members of the Coalition for ID Day who have been promoting this cause within their organizations. By the founding charter, membership is limited to development agencies, government organizations, and NGOs. But over the last few years, we have been receiving many requests from entities that fall outside these categories that would like to join in support of ID Day. I am pleased to announce today that in response to your requests, we are creating a new category called Friends of the Coalition for ID Day, where you can join us as an individual or a company to show your support. Please see the link in the chat for how you can be a friend. And revisit this page often, as we will be adding calls for action from time to time. Okay, happy to share with you now yet another element of going beyond the core campaign. Here, we looked for common threads that unite people beyond culture and language as vectors to carry our message. Very quickly, we gravitated towards art. So we decided to launch an Africa-wide design competition, inviting African artists to submit their visual designs, celebrating International Identity Day. Clearly, to motivate them and to reward them for their efforts, we needed to offer meaningful monetary prizes. While the goal may have been simple, executing it was a challenge. The challenge was not in finding a sponsor for the prize budget. Integrated Biometrics, an industry partner who has accompanied ID for Africa since its inception, was the first to step up and sponsor the funds, for which we recognize and thank them, and we will hear from them shortly. The challenge was locating the African artists who we could invite to participate, and here started a campaign of outreach to the art community across the continent on an unprecedented scale. The ID for Africa ambassadors once again played a very crucial role in connecting us to art schools and associations. Our staff worked diligently and connected with over 500 institutions who we are now adding to the ranks of our extended community. 206 artists ended up submitting designs. Here's the statistic and the countries that were submitting. 25 countries participated, and here's the demographic breakdown. Of these 206, 55 designs qualified to enter the competition. I say qualified because every submission had to undergo rigorous vetting to ensure appropriateness of values represented, originality of artwork, absence of infringement, etc. We then invited the entire identity community to vote for the best candidate out of the 55 designs. We did not share artist identity or country of origin in order to avoid any demographic bias. So the voting was done purely on the merit of the original artwork. No one single design came out ahead. Instead, 5 emerged neck and neck and clearly stood out of the rest in the vote count. Take a look at the 5, from Angola, from Namibia, from Nigeria, from RD Congo, and from Ghana. Since the differences in vote counts among those 5 were not statistically significant, we decided, in order to be fair, to figure out a way to reward all 5 finalists. So instead of offering a single prize, as originally intended, of $3,000, we added 4 more prizes of $1,000 each to reward all 5 finalists. We thank the sponsor IB for providing the additional funds. We also decided to give you, as members of the community who are attending this session in person today, the privilege to vote live to decide who gets the grand prize of $3,000. So while all 5 are winners and will receive an award of at least $1,000 each, one among those 5 will be the grand winner and will receive $3,000 instead. Your task as live audience is to decide who will it be. Of course, the community can use any of the 5 designs and promote Identity Day around the world in social media. So please feel free to download the designs and use them. The link is provided in the chat. Also note that all of these designs are available in multiple languages. Before you vote, I like to bring our sponsor IB and also welcome the 5 winners to the stage. I'd like to give you the opportunity to meet them and hear the explanation of the symbolism that went into the designs. We will then open up the polls for you to vote for your favorite design and select the grand winner. Who will that be? You will decide. So stick around and participate. Operator, please bring IB and the 5 winners to the stage. David, welcome. Welcome, Integrated Biometrics. You're the sponsor. We thank you for your support of this campaign, but also I'd like to hear a little bit your perspective on this. When you first heard that we're doing this competition, it didn't take you more than a few minutes to decide that you wanted to be the sponsor. What went into your mind when you decided to become the sponsor?
Dr. Atick and friends, I got to tell you all, it's fantastic to be with you here today. I'm actually in Mexico City, coming to you this morning. And I got to tell you, Doctor, there's all sorts of artists in the world. there's sketchers, there's painters, there's photographers, dancers, there's designers and innovators. And as a identity solutions innovator, IB just wanted to have the chance to recognize and support these great artists. And we're thrilled to be here with you guys.
Thank you, David. On the eve of International Identity Day, which is of course tomorrow, what would you tell the world, sitting from Mexico and telling the world from 130 countries in the world joining us? What would you tell them?
Well, I don't know that I'm very good at telling people a whole lot of things, but I got to tell you that I will say that I'm thrilled to see so many governments participating and getting together to help solve this problem. And, it's an identity void. And IB is just thrilled to see that people are engaging in this problem to solve it. And we're looking forward to the day when this problem is in our past.
Well said, well said. This is why we are all here. This is why we've been going at it for the last 7 years, and we'll continue until everyone has an identity and can use it to improve their lives, participate in society. Thank you, David. We'll come back to you again. Let me focus on our winning artists. We did a drawing, and so the order by which I will interview you came in the order of the drawing, so that there's no bias. I'll start with Alike Opey from Ghana. Alike, welcome, and thank you for being a member of this competition, joining the competition. I'd like to ask you to introduce who you are and tell us something about yourself.
Good afternoon from Ghana, and thank you for having me. So my name is Alike Opey. I'm 30 years, born, bred, and living in Ghana. I work in advertising as an art director with Ogilvy Ghana, where I'm fortunate enough to have the opportunity to work with some amazing people who do great work in Ghana and on the continent. And yes, my name is Alike because I spend a lot of time in conversations actually explaining my name. So yeah, my name is Alike, and thank you for having me.
Okay, I'd like you now to explain to us the symbolism that went into your design and sort of the creative process that went into your head.
Okay, thank you again. So like we all know, legal identity goes beyond just a document with our names on it. It goes to the core of who we are. And there's so much having legal identity gives us. For example, it opens a door of opportunities such as healthcare, education, and it makes it easier for governance decisions to be made. So my design process uses this knowledge as the foundation and creatively uses the most recognizable basic unit of a human being, which is a baby, and an identity symbol that is unique to every human being on earth. That's the thumbprint to solve the brief. So in the design, some of the benefits we get from having legal identity are then crafted to form the human thumbprint. So that's what you see. The choice of colors is to show, the choice of the various colors is to show diversity, because legal identity, like we know, affects everybody regardless of race and color. And also the design is a metaphor for legal identity, because when you take somebody's legal identity document, you can actually just see their name and maybe a few particulars, but not see anything else. But that's not all there is to it. There's more to it. Same way, when you see the design, you only see a thumbprint with the baby in it, but when you look closely, you get to see all the benefits that, or some of the core benefits that having legal identity gives us. So that was what informed my design.
Okay, thank you. One last question before I let you go and move on. How has this competition changed your interactions with your friends?
Okay, so thing is, even before this competition, anytime I had political or governance conversation with colleagues or friends, there's this thing I used to say that having a database or an accurate or proper database can help like solve a country, half the problems of a country. Because like I said earlier on, it helps with making governance decisions easier. So as much as that's an opinion for me, which is pretty much not coming off the back of any proper research, I think being in this competition only for me gives some credence to the view I've had already on legal identity, and also consciously or unconsciously issues regarding legal identity crop up in conversations, and this means that I'm well informed, and with the research I've done, well informed and able to explain things a bit more.
Excellent. Okay, so you're now become an emissary as well. You're really the cause of identity. Thank you for joining us. Good luck. Good luck. The vote is going to happen in a few minutes. Moving on to Eli again from DRC. Eli, once again, thank you for being with us and thank you for participating in this competition and also being one of the 5 winners. Just like I asked before, I'd like you to introduce who you are and tell us something about yourself. And Eli will be speaking in French, so Diane, our interpreter, will translate to English.
Ok, bonjour, merci IDA pour ce concours.
Hello, and thank you IDA for this competition. I am Aliyu.
Je suis Elingene, je viens de la RDC, j'ai 28 ans.
I am coming from the RDC and I'm 28 years old.
Et je suis conseiller en branding et full stack graphic designer.
I am a consultant in branding and a designer.
Ainsi, j'évolue dans le milieu professionnel comme étant consultant et freelancer depuis 7 ans maintenant.
I evolve in the professional area for 7 years now as a freelancer and a consultant.
Voilà, et ce que je peux dire sur moi de manière personnelle, que mon passe-temps préféré, disons, je passe mes temps en regardant des séries, mangas et à lire de bandes dessinées. Ça, c'est mes passe-temps préférés.
My favorite hobbies are to read manga, comic books, and yeah, just comics. And these are my favorite hobbies.
Et aussi, au-delà de ça, en fait, je suis aussi, comme autre casquette ou talent que j'ai, je suis aussi chanteur et guitariste.
I also have other talents. I'm also a singer and a guitar player.
Okay. Actually, we would love to hear you explain to us the symbolism in your design. So let's walk through the symbolism. This is your design.
C'est votre design. Est-ce que vous pouvez nous parler du symbolisme?
Ok, d'accord. Alors, déjà, j'avais commencé, je voulais citer les étapes. J'avais commencé par d'abord faire une recherche graphique sur le sujet, donc le concours.
I first started making a graphic research about the competition.
Alors, j'ai été tenté de représenter en fait un empreinte digitale comme les autres participants.
I was tempted to use a digital child like other participants.
Mais après une enquête en fait que j'ai eu à faire avec des proches, je peux constater que en fait les représentants en fait les graphiques de l'empreinte digitale étaient moins attrayants par rapport à d'autres visuels.
Oh, sorry, I mistranslated. So he was tempted to use the fingerprint as a visual like other participants, but after consulting family and friends, he noticed that maybe it wasn't the best visual element.
Alors, dans le souci de représenter quelque chose qui va rester dans la thématique, mais qui soit à la fois simple et attrayant, d'où mon choix s'est porté sur représenter un visage féminin qui nous représente tous, mais dont j'ai essayé de la décorer, disons, de la présenter de manière avec multicolore en fait de l'identité, de manière à ce qu'il puisse être dans une ergonomie simple et attrayante.
So I then decided to look for a simple and attractive visual, thus the choice of a female image, and he decided to use the multicolor approach as well to evoke the diversity.
Voilà,
Okay.
To make it joyful and attractive.
It's beautiful. Okay, thank you for that explanation, Eli. One last question. I understand you have the ambition to start a company like Marvel Comics. What is that about?
Ok. Et en fait, j'ai un projet, un rêve, en fait, de créer une entreprise qui travaillera dans le domaine de l'animation et de bande dessinée, un peu comme manga et Marvel. Alors, mon objectif par rapport à ces projets est que j'aimerais que l'Afrique puisse avoir une maison d'édition pareille qui va commencer à raconter, relater nos propres histoires de manière authentique et vraie.
So he has the aim to build an animation and cartoon company like manga and Marvel, to be an African publishing house which would be publishing accurate stories from the continent.
Mais aussi, le souci est de pouvoir transmettre aux générations futures notre culture, notre manière de faire les choses, manière de vivre, nos valeurs aux générations futures. C'est ça, en fait, mon projet, de créer une entreprise sur l'animation et la bande dessinée.
So the aim of this company and cartoons and animated movies would be to pass on for the future generations the culture, the values, and the way of life.
Thank you. Thank you for that explanation, Eli. We're moving on. The third candidate, the third winner, is Kiran Useb from Namibia. Kiran, welcome. Thank you for being a winner, and thank you for being with us today. As I have asked before, please introduce who you are and tell us something about yourself.
Good evening. Thank you for having me in your live stream. So my name is Kiran Useb. I'm 16 years old. I'm currently a grade 10 student at Namib High School in Sokopmund of Namibia. So I am an inspiring entrepreneur in graphic design and web development. I taught myself Adobe Illustrator, Photoshop during the COVID-19 lockdown. I very quickly got an aptitude for web design and eventually started front-end web development with CSS and JavaScript. I'm now learning towards becoming a back-end developer on Udemy online short courses and YouTube tutorials.
Excellent, excellent, Kiran. And walk us through the symbolism and the creative process in your design.
So Africa is the hardest affected as it is the home of more than half of the world's unidentified people. The artwork depicts the dawn of identification in an African village. It tells the story of an old man who has no conventional form of identification, and he's using his biometric identification to go through and conduct secure transactions and enter secure buildings. So getting identification will have the deepest impact on African industrial growth and boost the economy.
Okay, thank you, Karim. One last question. I understand you, because of this competition, had to learn firsthand about the power of identity. What was this about?
So my main motivation for entering this competition was mainly to benchmark my skills with other industry experts. But upon qualifying for the final level, I realized that I would need a bank account to receive rewards collected so far. I only recently turned 16, which is the legal age to bear legal identity in Namibia. And once I had to open a bank account, they required my identification. And now I realize that most activities that involve registration in business, day-to-day business activities require for you to be able to represent your identity.
Excellent. So you basically can testify to the world that identity was useful for you.
Yes.
Very good. Thank you. Good luck. So let's move on. Historia da Costa from Angola. Welcome. Thank you for being a winner and for joining us today. Please introduce who you are and tell us something about yourself.
Bem-vindo, Historia da Costa. Por favor, sim, se apresente e fale algo sobre você.
Ok, boa tarde a todos. Chamo-me História.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Historia.
Tenho 21 anos e sou designer gráfico.
I have 25 anos. I'm 25 years old and I'm a graphic designer.
E aí, desde já, agradecer pela oportunidade que tive e também estou muito feliz por estar entre os finalistas.
I would like to thank for the opportunity and I'm very happy to be part of the finalists.
Excellent. Would you like to walk us through the symbolism of your design?
Você poderia nos explicar um pouco os símbolos que você utilizou no seu design?
Na imagem ilustrada, nós temos uma ilustração que tem ligação com o Dia Internacional da Identidade.
So we have an illustration that is connected to the International ID Day.
Nós temos imagens que foram compostas de forma criativa.
So the images were composed in a creative way.
Elas ilustram a inclusão social, reconhecimento e impressão digital também.
So they illustrate the social inclusion, the fingerprints, the identity, the diversity.
Nós usamos ilustrações realistas, né, imagens realistas, que é para deixar a nossa arte mais humana.
We have used realistic images to make this visual more human.
E, enfim, temos o planeta Terra também inserido na imagem, que é para...
There is also the word globe that has been inserted in the image.
Para dar-nos então a entender que a identidade é algo que ajuda a pessoa a explorar outros cantos do mundo, outras partes do mundo também.
So as an indication that identity will also help people to explore other parts of the world.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Historia, one last question for you. I understand that graphic design helps keep you out of trouble. What does that mean?
Eu entendi que o design gráfico te ajuda a ficar fora de problemas. O que isso quer dizer?
Ok. Conforme eu já explicado da vez passada, eu vivo numa zona onde há muita gente com baixo nível acadêmico por dificuldades financeiras.
So I live in a pretty bad neighborhood where lives a lot of people that have low education and financial difficulties.
E aí isso faz com que muitos não tenham, como que eu posso dizer, muitas ocupações, né? Mesmo até em termos de trabalho.
So a lot of people don't have many occupations, even in terms of work.
E aí ficam meio que induzidos a coisas como alcoolismo, fumo e desde que me tornei designer gráfico, eu pude me afastar dessas pessoas porque estava sempre a tempo inteiro a trabalhar como designer, graças a Deus, né?
So people tend to get involved with alcohol and drugs, and being involved in design has helped him to get away from these bad habits of the community.
Very good, very good. Thank you, Historia, and of course, good luck to you.
Muito obrigado e boa sorte.
Moving on, last but not least, Odemena Tubi from Nigeria. Welcome. Can we bring Odemena? Odemena, are you on? Operator, could you please help locate Odemena?
We're trying to reach him.
Excuse me, you can't reach him. Okay, could you please put his design on? Could you put his design on while we're searching for him? We can take a look at his design. So this is the design that came from Odemena Ubi from Nigeria. You could see the togetherness, the hands with each color taken from the SDGs being represented. It's unfortunate that Odemena's connection has been lost. Apparently today, Nigeria is having some problems with the global connection. Also, I just say that Odemena took this competition very personally because the declaration for International Identity Day started in Nigeria, in Abuja. So he took it to heart and he made a design that basically continued Nigeria's commitment to the cause of identity and Identity Day. Sorry, we didn't have Odemena with us. But what I'd like to do, we're now ready to vote. But before we do that, I'd like to ask the operator to remind the audience of the designs by putting that slide on. Operator, please put the design on. Okay, so what we will be asking you next, we'll be asking you to vote on the best design. Notice and remember that whoever wins today will walk away with $3,000. And before we open up the poll, I will also say, you can see Africa has talent. So if any of you is interested in hiring these young artists for doing design work, so please don't hesitate to reach out. We will connect you with them, and as well as we would connect you with other talents in Africa. Our objective is to use identity to bring the community together and create opportunities for economic advancements for them. Operator, if there is no other issues, please launch the poll. Okay, this is the moment that you've all been waiting for, and I'm hoping that all of you are going to vote. Please vote. Please vote. It matters. Your vote matters. These young artists are very, very promising artists. They need your vote. They need your support. So please continue. We have long ways to go. Please vote. I remind you that everyone is a winner today. Everyone will walk away with at least $1,000. But more importantly, the recognition that they have made it among a large number of artists in Africa who participated in this important mission. Please vote. I'm going to leave this a little bit longer so I can give you a chance to vote. Fair warning, going once. Fair warning, going twice. Fair warning. Operator, end the poll and declare the winner. Okay, as you can see, the winner, it's a clear-cut winner, was Alike Opai, who garnered 44% of the vote. Operator, please bring Alike to the stage. Thank you to all the other winners today who will receive $1,000 for the submissions, and also their designs will be used. Please, let's just remind ourselves of the design that Alike had done. Vraiment, I mean, really, this is beautiful, beautiful design. Alike, please come to the stage.
Hello.
Operator, please bring Alike to the stage. Alike, congratulations. How do you feel?
Thank you. Over the moon, actually, very excited. I can't put it in words. I'm very excited.
Bravo, bravo. Congratulations very much to your design. It touched my heart actually when I saw that, the whole concept of how in every groove of the fingerprint, there is something related to what our identity enables us. So bravo for that thoughtful process that went into it. David, can you come on stage and congratulate the winner?
Okay, hey, Aliyu, congratulations. You know, IB loves fingerprints. We think that's the best biometrics, and you really represented that fantastically. We always like to say unmistakable identity, unmistakable IB, but today it's all about alike and a great design. So congratulations.
Thank you very much.
So thank you all. Thank you for all the artists for their participation and for IB for their support. We intend to continue to bring in features like this to identify Africa Got Talent and relate it to identity. Okay, so now we are ready to launch what you've all been waiting for, which is Eye on Africa, which is the segment 3 of this episode. But before we do that, I'd like to ask you for a favor. ID for Africa was nominated by the Omidyar Foundation this year for the Good Idea Awards under the inclusion category. The awards recognize dedicated, progressive, and impactful work to improve digital identity for all. If you find us deserving, please vote for us. You can vote right now via the link in the chat. We have put the link in the chat. And for those watching us via YouTube, the link is in the description below the video. Please vote. It matters. I think make the world know that your movement, ID for Africa, which you have been part of for many, many years, deserves that recognition for all the hard work that all of you have been doing. Okay, so operator, now we are ready to officially launch Eye on Africa. I would like to welcome my 2 guests. I'm honored and pleased to have with me DJ Aziz, Director General Aziz from NIMC, as well as Director General Josephine Mukesha from NIDA, Rwanda. Thank you both. I will say Happy Identity Day in advance. And I'd like to welcome you today to the kickoff session of the new series, Eye on Africa, which will give the identity authorities the opportunity to self-assess and share what they think their experience has been and the progress that they have done. We are going to start with the Nigeria report, and then we will come back to the Rwanda report. During each section, for example, Nigeria report, there will be a presentation from the Director General, followed by question and answers and community voices. So anybody who would like to join the discussion, raise your hand and an operator will spot you and prepare to bring you up to the stage. So I'll just say thank you very much, both of you, DJ Aziz and DJ Mukesha. And DJ Mukesha will come back to you in a moment after we finish the Nigeria report. So DJ Aziz, wonderful to see you in good health and smiling on the eve of Identity Day.
Network.
And yeah, unfortunately, there are network issues in Nigeria today. DJ Aziz, can you hear us?
Yeah. Yes. Thank you very much. The network was giving problem. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you perfectly.
Okay. Thank you very much and happy International ID Day. I have a short presentation, and it also starts from the from 2018 when we started the ID. We declared the ID Day. Can you see my screen?
Not yet. Can you share it? Otherwise, operator can share the screen from their side for you.
Yeah. Share screen. Oh.
Now we're sharing. We're seeing the share screen.
Okay. Okay. This is the beginning of the starting in with the 2018 when we declared the International ID Day. So that is when the federal government of Nigeria also endorsed the earlier roadmap that has been developed with us and World Bank and AFD, which is the French Development Agency, and EIB, the European Investment. So they have approved that up to February 2019. And then the Presidential Ecosystem Steering Committee was constituted in March 2020 while we were in the COVID. And then the draft data protection bill, this is the second one, was done in September 20. And then we were transferred to the Federal Ministry of Communication, Digital Economy, the bedrock of digital economy. So the leadership of Professor Isadi Ibrahim Antami. And then we commenced the execution of the SIM-NIN linkage. And by May, we launched the Android software, which significantly accelerates the speed and also ease of enrollment. And then we are finalizing the recruitment of the PIU, and also the Senate, Joint Senate and House Committee, that is the political wing, have also approved the funding in July 2021. And we are in September now, and we have enrolled more than 63 million records. So there are policies that made this happen, but some of them are to do with the harmonization with the bank verification number. There we included all the banking sector. And then there's mandatory usage of the national identification number for passport application and renewal. And this helps to bring in all travelers, and that met up with all the most important people that we have. And then the implementation of the ecosystem approach to enrollment, which included the private sector to then capture data for government. And of course, we then had the national ID policy for SIM card registration. This brings in the telecommunications sector into the ID. And also we had a policy on the digital ID for internally displaced persons, and all the other socially excluded people are then brought into this picture. And finally, we had the utilization of the NIN for examinations, and also both for registration and also to sit for those examinations. And it really helped in this year, all the fraudsters in the system. And the distribution of the enrollment points that we have in Nigeria. Earlier, before, we had only less than 1,000, but right now we have more than 1,000 centers all across the region. You can still see that the populated area like Lagos, Abuja, Kaduna, Kano, and Port Harcourt, they still have most of the centers. So we intend to move all these wide areas to really cover the whole country. Before, it was said that 50,000, you need an enrollment center. So that time we were thinking that by the time that we have 4,000 centers, we will have covered the whole nation. But right now we have double that number, but yet it's like a drop in the ocean. So we are expecting to have more than 20,000 centers to population. And this also a quick way of, based on from the local government, local councils that we have. Last year, around this period in 2020, you can see the presentation of the data, and we use our own white-green metaphor to put it in such a way that white areas we have low coverage, but the darker the green, the areas that we capture majority of the data. So you can see a lot of white areas last year, low white areas this year, because we have more and more enrollments, and it allows us to then also measure the areas without broadband penetration, inactive locate, increase the registrations. And in this, we compare the population and the enrollment so far. So you can see the enrollment is the pink enrollment. So you can see that between the ages 20 to 60, we have done a lot of enrollment. We have covered majority of the population. But for the elderly people above years old, need to do a lot of work. And for children and adults, that is below 19 years and 5 to 14 years, and also less than 5, then you can see that there's so much gap. So we need to now put in more effort in enrolling in schools, at home, and also in the hospital. So we plan to collaborate with the Population Commission to capture at birth, and also with the education sector to capture children at school, and also to go home to meet the elderly and also meet them in the hospitals. And in the next one, we just the gender distribution. Again, you can see for the children so far that we have enrolled is almost equal. And even between 5 to 14-year-old is equal. And in 15 to 19, the female are a little bit more than the male. But for the adults from 20 to 60 plus, then the male are more than the female. Therefore, we have to have aggressive enrollment this job, not really conspicuous gap. This gender ratio, that is the official distribution. Again, looking at the key here, you can see that one, the orange colors shows whereby there is the gender majority in the southern parts of the country, and some at the center, and also in these areas in the north. And it shows areas where we have problems, that there are IDPs, therefore there are more women that have been. The places that we have the darker blues means that there are less women that has been enrolled. Therefore, our strategies now is to base on capturing women in this particular area. And then we also have very new developments which Hadiza will also share, like statutory forces. We also had 13 million already downloaded enrollments that has been launched that helps us to go to nooks and crannies. We also have this contactless enrollment, which is going to be launched. And we also have the intelligent NIMC. And we also been doing a lot of data streaming at very high speed with the telcos to really commence bulk verification. And of course, we have also NIM tokenization, which is going to launch tomorrow. Final talk. A nation cannot truly be a sovereign state if it does not know its people or have a unique way of identifying them. And that the knowledge of government's knowledge of its people, that is also include the citizens and also residents, fundamental in all planning, governance, fiscal management, accountability, as we have observed in areas where we have security challenges. And this knowledge must begin at birth, with birth registration and extend to issuance of unique identifier through the national identification system. And it extends to knowing who, where, shall, and also a foundational ID is the first step to empowering people and facilitate fast access to basic government services. And that civil registration of vital statistics system and the national ID found that will also what will allow the digital economy to flourish, in addition to the mobile phone and also a smartphone and also a bank account. That without proper identity, people are excluded from basic services that provide foundation for their support. So I would like to thank our development partners, all the other government agencies that we work with to harmonize and also collaborate. So I will say happy National ID Day. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Thank you, DJ Aziz. We've got a few questions. Let's stop the sharing of the screen and let's have a chat together. I would say when we first started thinking about the number of sites that it's going to require, and 4,000 came up as the number, and now reality kicks in. Is this a lesson learned that we can share with every country in Africa to say, you don't underestimate how many centers you are going to need in order to capture the entire population? Would you say this is an important message?
Yeah, I believe so, because like we have set out that for the SIM name registration, we set up a deadline. And every time that the deadline comes close, then the minister will send people to check, are there people on the queue waiting to be registered? And in almost all the centers, you find that people are waiting. And when people are waiting, then there's no way that we do that. So the intention is to have everybody registered. So I believe that for countries like Nigeria and any other country too, we have people. So we should not stop until we enroll everyone. And even after we enroll everyone, that is when the real identity management commence. And that is when people need support. That is when we need to identify the poor people among us that really needs to live. That is the time that we can improve creativity of the people to come with so much that we can have.
You have adopted several policies in order to improve the participation and enrollment. For example, the latest policy is the linkage between the SIM card number and the NIN number, the national ID number. There's a question online from Steve T. says, can you comment on how successful the SIM card registration has been, and is it saturating now? Where do you expect it to go?
Well, there's a lot of success, but we are not yet there And the point is that the number of influx of enrollment is really large. Therefore, before, our system was so fast that if you enroll now and you will get your name immediately. But right now, as we speak, there's always many enrollments waiting for the ABs to come back to us. And luckily, government have also approved huge sums for us to expand this system. And also the telcos also wants us to have bulk verification of the legacy system, which we have been working on. And the way our system was designed before, it cannot just handle a single verification. So we need to now double up. That is why I mentioned that we are now using streaming technology to make sure that it's like create some form of ocean or a lake whereby you can get a lot of water rather than going to the tap. So we are not yet there, but there's a lot of improvements.
Would you, without putting you on the spot, I mean, as you know, our position, ID for Africa, we have advocated in many countries the linkage of the SIM to the NIN as a policy for accelerating the enrollment and the building of the National Population Register. We know that in Tanzania, there's been success in that area, and it's Nigeria, you're now saying success. Would you tell your brothers and sisters to adopt that policy? Would you say it is worth it, even when the public complains?
Well, fundamentally, it is very, very important because number one is there are security issues of when you do not know who is at the other end of the phone. So there is fundamentally that every SIM must be registered. Some other developed countries, because they already have the identity, people have identities, therefore when you come to get the SIM, you just register with your identity and you get it and go. But for developing countries, you need some form of identity to get this. And therefore the whole issue is not to really make people uncomfortable, but it's for the total good. Therefore, I would recommend that every nation, especially developing countries, should have linkage, be able to develop your economy digitally. Thank you.
Another question from Adam Ross. It says, with the rollout of the Android application for NIN verification, will NIMC continue to offer physical cards, or will you move to an all digital direction for personal identification and verification?
Well, in Africa, I believe that you want people to move to the digital platform. As we know, most of us don't even go to the bank nowadays. They only use the digital services. The same thing that we can also provide digital identity. And also we have simplified it in such a way that we also have mobile ID that you can also use on your phone. Therefore, but in Africa, people always ask for the physical copy. So it should not be one fixed, one size all. It should be open, that for people that really need something physical to hold, then there should be that option of giving people the physical plastic. But in this case, it will not be like before when it is free. It may be the citizens have to contribute for the plastic.
The plastic, okay. A lot of questions coming through about the weakness in the registration process for the people who are the young children or the new births. And many people are wondering about what is your strategy for linking civil registration to the national ID and the digital national ID in order to reinforce each other. I mean, really so many questions coming through all about this. How do you solve the problem of the weakness in the registrations in your database for those who are young and children?
Yes, with harmonization, that was really very, very harmonization and collaboration with all other government agencies that are responsible. And that is what we have been hammering on, and we are doing that. So, and in the ecosystem approach also identifies that every agency should its own goals. Therefore, in Nigeria, the National Population Commission is responsible for the birth registration and also the death registration. And there is currently a lot of high-level collaboration to really make sure that this happens. Birth registration is given, and also NIM is also issued at birth, so that we can this huge population. So there's so much work that is ongoing, and we are not yet there. But I believe that with the successes that we have achieved, makes it now that working together is much more than working individually as agencies, and also the goal of our ID Day too is SDG 10.9, which says that identity for all, including the birth registration but at the rate that we are going, we believe that in the next 2-3 years, we should be able to enroll in Nigeria.
Okay, that's a wonderful objective to aim for. Actually, a lot of people are asking about the status of data protection legislation. Can we bring in Hadiza on the forum and have her give us an update on that? Hadiza will also be joining us a little bit later to talk about Nigeria's basically Identity Day celebration. Hadiza, welcome. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Dr. Atick. On the data protection bill, it's still work in progress, but it has reached a very advanced stage. The committee is meeting next week, precisely on the 23rd, on the final leg of the exercise. And there has been a consultant to engage to fine-tune the document. So like we reported earlier, the document is not passing through the regular National Assembly processes. It is going to be an executive bill. So once the consultant has fine-tuned the document, we submit it to the project steering committee. And from this project steering committee, the Attorney General of the Federation will present it to the Federal Executive Council for endorsement, and it will be sent to the National Assembly. The National Assembly is already waiting for the document, so we do not expect the document to go through the long process of legislative process. Yes.
If you had to guess, when do you think this becomes law? What timeline are we looking at? 1 year, 2 years?
No, we're looking at the end of the year, by God's grace. Yeah.
End of this year, end of this calendar year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So let's keep our fingers crossed. Okay. Hadiza, we'll come back to you for the Identity Day celebration. I want to close up by going back to DJ Aziz. DJ, people are saying Nigeria is a population of 200 million people. You are now at 63 million. It seems that the SIM strategy has given you a boost of about 20 million. but it seems to be slowing down because everybody who has a bank account and everybody who really uses phones is already having a NIN. Do you need to push deeper into social protection, into poverty alleviation, in order to bring the people who normally don't connect with their government unless there's a social program? Do you feel this is going to be necessary, or you think with just birth certification, birth registration, going to schools, etc., and building more centers, you may get away with it?
Yeah, well, thank you very much. Of course, there will always be social protection program, and also part of the program of the ecosystem is actually to also deal with the social protection program. So even developed countries have social protection. Oh, but you know, when you are developing a program, you always have if you have a signal, if you have many people, you have to take the signal and also the noise. So most people that they copy, the mainstream always make the noise that they do not have. So the idea was to capture them, the people that have the bank account, the people that also have the telephones, to capture all of them, so that then they can now free us up, and then they will allow us to then move to the hard to reach areas, the riverine areas, the problem areas, and the rest of them. And also in the ecosystem too, we recognize that those areas require a different model than the people that are making the loudest noise. So right now, we believe that with the people that have phones, people that have the bank account, people that travel, by capturing all these people, we have removed all the noise with people that really require help. That is the people that are living in the villages, people that require the help of the government. So we'll continue with these strategies, working with development partners, working with civil groups, working with all people in this sector. That was what the ecosystem approach means. And we are very, very open with most of these players to make it sustainable.
On this same point, how do you work with community leaders, the people on the ground, to make sure they go out and bring the public to enroll?
Well, the ones that I can remember, like we did some registration of the IDPs. So when we get to those places and we obtained the local register, so that we can then use something to, and also locally too, they develop a source document for those people, because you still need some form of identity of the person to really capture. Though the program says that even if you don't have anything else, you will be captured. But we have this, we've been developing this proof of concept for some time now. And there are other places whereby we go with the development partners. Then they ask the civil society group to really go and get these people and put them in a place, then before those enrollment can happen. So there are many ways, but we are still developing and also with the civil society and other groups to come up with effective ways to get to the local people.
Exactly. Okay. I mean, we all understand the challenge and appreciate the challenge. DJ Aziz, we would love to have you again and again. You're the largest population in Nigeria. You will reach the goal, and that will be a day for us all to celebrate. We will be with you along the way on this journey, because it's important that every Nigerian, just like every African, is going to be able to enjoy their identity and its use. And you've been leading the hardest problem. You've been trying to solve the hardest problem in Africa. So we're with you. And unfortunately, we're running out of time. So we will thank you again. I know you. And happy Identity Day.
Okay.
And we'll see you soon again.
Thank you very much. Happy Identity Day to everyone else.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
There are many questions that have come in, but unfortunately, we don't have enough time. And also the connection from Nigeria is a little unstable. So I promise we will bring back Nigeria at some point to delve into some specific aspects of the challenges. But as you've heard, some of the issues, yes, SIM registration does work, but it's not a magic bullet. You need to use this because it's got many aspects. The ecosystem approach is very, very valuable. You need to not only to require people to have an ID, but you have to accompany people who don't have an ID. You require people to have an ID to access services, just as having a passport, such as having a SIM card. And also don't underestimate the number of centers you need to have in order to register the population. When this whole analysis started, people thought 4,000 centers will cover Nigeria. It's actually now more like 20,000. Use that as a benchmark to give you an idea of what it will take to cover a population of 200 million people. Okay, so moving on, we're going in to another country which has been at the forefront, making progress. Rwanda is also another country that has hosted us. It was actually the second annual meeting, and I think Nigeria hosted us in the fourth annual meeting. So these are two countries that have really been with us on this journey. I'm pleased to have with me the Director General of the National Identity Agency, National Identity Authority, Josephine Mukesha. Welcome, Josephine, who will give us an update on the eve of International Identity Day on where her organization stands and where the country is oriented as far as identity is concerned. Welcome, Josephine.
Thank you very much, Dr. Atick, and happy again to be here to talk about the progress and the identity in Rwanda. So I'll be with my colleagues,
Let's bring them on.
And
yeah, operator, bring them on.
Okay, yes, Stephen Gakuba and Jean-Claude. So let me just share my screen. Yes. So thank you very much, everyone. So this is a bit of a highlight of what we are going to talk about: our mission, statistics, the legal frameworks, and the improvement of the CRVS and the project in pipeline. So as you know, our vision is a legal and a unique identity for all at any time, anywhere. And our mission is to modernize and integrate both the civil registration of vital events and national population registry through a digital and secure identity information system for legal identity and rights for all, with an accurate authentication of data responding to the needs of all stakeholders. We've started the journey for the integration since 2015. So regarding the legal framework, the National Identification Agency was established by the law in 2011. And as of this year, we are in the last stages of the gazetting the law on personal data protection and privacy. It was actually approved in the plenary session in our parliament. So we're just waiting for the gazetting, which will happen anytime within this month, probably or next. Regarding the other laws around our work, we have the National Identity Card Law that was amended in 2018, and we have many ministerial orders and that regulate the issuance and the carrying of the national ID, making it mandatory, but also on the other side, linking it with a civil registration. So our law on persons and family was amended in 2020, extending the civil registration from the usual place of registration, because we used to do registration in sector offices only, which were 416 across the country. And through the journey that we went through the modernization of our civil registration, we came to see that for an increased identification of citizen all the way from birth, we had to actually move the registration to the place where event happened. So we came up with a strategic plan for our CRVS, which provided for, recommended that we amended our law so that the events that, especially the birth and eventually the death as well, happen in health facilities. So in Rwanda, we have birth occurring at above 90% in health facilities. So we've moved the registration to the health facilities, and there was a presidential order that was enacted and giving the permission to even cell executive secretary. So cells in Rwanda, we have 2,148, so which is the closest government office closer to the citizen for those whose event occur in communities. This mostly is for death, because most deaths occur mostly in communities than in hospitals. So since 2020, August actually, on CRVS Africa Day, that's when we launched our CRVS, NCI CRVS system. And now we have registration happening from health facilities. Regarding a bit of statistics of what we've been doing since the last time we met, we've registered, we have 12,160,000 people. These are statistics as of end of August. As I told you, we have registration in all health facilities that include private, public, government, clinics. So we do registration of birth and death in 661 health facilities, but other events also, because in our law, we have 9 events. The remaining events that are not birth and death are still registered at the sector offices. That include like marriages and the likes. So these are done from the 416 sectors, but they also access the National Population Registry, which is on online platform for the updates and regular update of vital events that happen. As I told you, our ID system has been integrated. We do ID authentication. Today, we have a bit more than 50 institutions that are connected to us. Those includes financial institution, telcos, government institutions, even private institutions. And now we've also now started integrating with universities, schools, and the other in the ecosystem, agriculture, social protection. And we've also extended our data collection centers, the biometric ones. So because in Rwanda, the ID is issued from 16 and above. Before, we used to have a mobile team that was moving across the country to collect biometrics on a regular basis. Now with the advance of the connectivity in Rwanda and technology that is available now, we have 180 sector offices that permanently now collect biometrics. So citizens do not have to wait for that one day in the calendar to capture their biometrics. So we do 180, and citizens who are turning 16 can just walk in those sites and then they can provide their biometrics. But in parallel to this, we still work also with like schools where we have campaigns, and we go to various high schools where we find our target citizen who are turning 16, and we collect their biometrics seamlessly. This is mostly, we do it during this time of COVID to avoid people moving from one place to another. With this, I'll pass the floor to my colleague, Stephen, who will talk to us about the improvement on the CRVS. Thank you very much.
Thank you, DJ.
Stephen?
Yes, thank you, DG, and thank you, Dr. Teach. Thank you, everyone. Walking you through the CRVS improvement process. The DG talked about the preliminaries that characterized the improvement process, where she talked of the 5-year strategic plan that was developed in in 2016, 2017. And now the improvement process of civil registration is underpinned by three major pillars: the system development and the training of end users of the system, and then the behavior change communication. This process was subdivided into three major phases, and as the DG has said, the process was subdivided into three phases. The first phase was in between 2019 and 2020. The second phase, 2020, 2021, and then the last phase, 2021, 2022. So starting with the system development, where we are developing 9 modules. The first modules were birth and death. But before we developed birth and death modules in the first phase, we had to develop the CRVS architecture, and we developed the business process maps for all these 9 events, and then the use cases, and then we went on with the modules, starting with birth and death in the first year of the project. With the training of end users, we trained the 416 civil registration officers on birth and death registration, but we also trained 2,148 cell executive secretaries. I remind the listeners that it's the cells that are nearest to the population, and these are 2,148, and they essentially register deaths and births that occur in communities. And then we also trained the 661 civil registration officers, and these are based at health centers and health facilities. So with behavior change communication campaigns, we engaged in live radio shows and TV shows, TV spots, billboards, web banners, and banners. This is essentially because we want to make sure that each and everyone in the community is aware of the importance of registration of these events, especially birth and death, because these modules are already deployed at all these points of service, the 416 cells, the 2,148 cells, and 661 health facilities. So with behavior change communication, we thought that this would raise awareness for registration. But as we talk of registration, we also talk about completeness of registration of these events, and then the certification, because certification is still very raw. So birth and death modules are already deployed. Marriage, divorces, annulment of marriages are already registration. Development is complete, and trainings are underway for deployment. And then within this last year of the project, 2021-2022, we are already having recognition and adoptions being developed. And by the end of December, we expect to have these two events deployed at the points of service. And then we shall be working on guardianship and legitimization the rest of the year. Next. The integration that exists between civil registration and vital statistics systems and the ID system. We know that identification should essentially start at birth, and civil registration serves this purpose, especially on birth registration. At birth registration, this is where the unique ID is issued for the first time per individual. And after this registration is done, the National Centralized and Integrated CRV system updates the National Population Registry. And as the DG said, the Rwandan laws provide that the issuance of the national ID should be done at the age of 16. So at the age of 16, basing on the already captured demographic data, the biometrics are captured in the systems, I mean, in the way the DG explained, and then merging the two, the demographic data and the biometric data, the ID card is produced. And then other events that happen in between that is between birth and death are served, I mean, served the citizen depending on the unique ID that was generated and that is shared amongst these registries and systems. So on birth registration, the fact that an individual was identified uniquely at birth and registered into the national centralized and integrated system, when death occurs, then it's this, I mean, and at the age of 16, he was issued with the national ID. It's by the use of, it's by this ID that a death is flagged into the system such that this ID is not used for other transactions and purposes in future. So briefly, that's how the three systems that are managed by NIDA interoperate and identify individuals amongst themselves. So I think this is how the integration is done and how identification is done, right from civil registration and specifically birth registration throughout the identification and then to death, where the individual is flagged by use of the national ID. So let me hand over to my colleague, Jean-Claude, to take over through the envisioned future projects. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Atick. Thank you very much, DG and Stephen. As DG highlighted, Rwanda, the government of Rwanda has developed a plan to transform Rwanda into a robust digital economy, and it has planned to carry out implementation of a single digital identity. Throughout the support of the African Development Bank, Rwanda conducted a feasibility study on the identification ecosystem in Rwanda, and came out with the feasibility study was carried out between the end of 2020 and was recently concluded, and came up with the recommendations on how the modernization of the current ID system could be conducted. These are some of the recommendations from the study. First, we going to part from the existing National Population Registry and the CRIVS that was mentioned, and the Foreign Registry, and also we carry out digitization of some of the registry civil registration archives to maximize chances for people to be able to transact digitally and having all the records and be able to enroll in the modernization, in the modernized digital ID. So what we want to achieve is to part from the national ID card system that we have and do some upgrades to cater for the emerging technologies and also the credentials. We're trying to see what kind of credentials are best in as we all usher in the digital economy. And by leveraging the technologies, then we will have a way to for citizens, both the citizens and the residents, to authenticate for service service provision point. So as you can see, we want to, for the modernized or the upgraded ID to be able to enable transactions in financial services, as an example, and also for trusted data sharing, as now we are waiting for the law on data protection to be gazetted, as Josephine mentioned. So we want as well to make the interoperability of the single digital identity and the sectoral services as they were assessed in the last feasibility study. So this is an exercise that we envision to implement in the near future, and we welcome thoughts and ideas from countries that are almost doing the same. As you all heard, the African Union is now ready for the African Continental Free Trade Area, and we are ready for thoughts from different countries on how best we can implement this and avail it for interoperability with other countries across the continent. Next. That said, we are aware of the ongoing initiatives at continental and the regional levels. The African Union is putting forward a framework for interoperability and trust of digital identities, and we are positioning ourselves as a country to offer that interoperability with the framework, and also we are aware of the Smart Africa Trust Alliance. This is also another framework that seeks to harmonize digital identities at continental level. We are aware of many other initiatives, the UNECA initiatives, as well as the initiative in the West Africa. And we throughout the implementation, we make sure that we are open to those frameworks, and we are as well following the development for if we have to align with the consensus from other countries. As we said, this is a journey that we want to embark on, and it's not definite yet. We are very open for ideas from participating colleagues and countries. Thank you very much, and allow me to wish you the Happy Identity Day.
Thank you. Thank you so much. For the presenters, DJ Josephine, I'd like to sort of share with you a couple of questions that are important. Some were asked before the session. A common